Today we are talking about plantar fasciitis, which is an interesting diagnosis because it is really a continuous overuse injury with a continual overstretching of the often poorly supported plantar fascia. Plantar fasciitis is commonly presenting as pain in the heel or arch of the foot. Running, dancing, and other activities that repeatedly pound and put pressure on the foot on a hard surface will put too much tension in the plantar fascia and can lead to irritation, inflammation, and sometimes micro-tearing of the fascia. Other contributing factors include tight muscles in the posterior legs, as well as lack of proper conditioning before increasing or intensifying workouts. Weight gain, as well as extremely high or low arches, which is sometimes genetic, can also lead to injury of the plantar fascia. Quite often, medial heel pain occurs when taking your first steps out of bed in the morning, with the collapsing of the medial arch of the foot. Continued overstretching of the fascia near the heel or calcaneus can sometimes lead to micro-tearing, small amounts of blood in the area, as well as formation of calcium deposits. This can sometimes result in the formation of a heel spur, which may not show up on an X-ray for some time. Plantar fasciitis can resolve quickly if you address and correct causative factors as soon as possible and continue with remedial exercise after symptoms subside. However, plantar fasciitis can become chronic and last many months. Sometimes longer-term corrective measures are required, such as appropriate orthotics. Poor biomechanics and muscle imbalances can be worked on. However, sometimes structural anomalies create the need for either temporary or long-term use of orthotics. Until symptoms are relieved and pain-free weight-bearing returns, one should avoid activities such as jumping and avoid walking barefoot even in the house. Electrotherapeutic modalities such as ultrasound are sometimes effective. However, these methods sometimes only treat the symptomatic presentation of the plantar fasciitis. Stretching, myofascial release, cardioflossing, and strengthening, as well as restoring functional biomechanics and improving your gait, are the best long-term solutions. This may include the use of orthotics.
Okay, so we're back and now we're gonna do some stretches for the calf and the plantar fascia. There's ways you can use a step, like a door step, going up and down the stairs in your home, and just let your heel drop down, putting the forefoot, the widest part over here, where your toes are attached to your foot, and get that part at the edge of the door, of the step, not necessarily the door, but at the step, and then you drop your heel down. So if you have something to hold on to, that's great. You could even use even a platform, like a step stool or a stepper from Working Out Stepper. Just make sure it's nice and sturdy and not wobbly so that you can stretch the foot. You could do it against a wall. So I'm gonna move over here and stretch like this and lean forward, driving your hips forward like so. And that's gonna stretch your calf. Those are more static stretches. I like to incorporate all over body movement through my cardio videos and flossing with cardio flossing, nerve flossing, which is much more efficient, effective to do it that way, as you're manipulating the fascia, as you're moving your body and engaging your muscles. The release is far better and far longer lasting. I like to, with many of my patients, I have to kind of modify or those basic exercises I just showed against the wall, or using a step, like a stair to step down with a heel. Not enough often. So you can as well use things like props, such as a bolster for your head and for your legs, to work from the floor on your back and sideways to get into these areas. I just thought of one thing that I could add, talking about wall exercises for the calf. So here, for example, you have your feet nice and straight forward, parallel, and you're going to, so you could make sure the surface you're on is non-slippery, so whether you have to put shoes on or if you can use a mat, then that should be sufficient. But if you need to have some grip, and shoes is something that will help, make sure to do that. So here my knees are one leg in front of the other, so one knee in front of the other. Here I'm gonna stretch my left calf, and I'm going to put my right knee into my left calf. So work your posture at the same time. Don't be all slouching forward or all cricket. Make sure your hips are forward against the wall, toward the wall. Same direction your hands and shoulders are, and you're just going to strum down your back foot and back knee specifically into the front leg in the back, right in here in the middle where you have your nerve into a sheath going in the middle of your gastrocnemius here, as it ends right here, and then you are now into your soleus muscle. Can be quite tight too, so your heel is gonna come up on both feet. It's okay, just get that stretch. Nicely breathe in, exhale, keep your posture. That's gonna help your breathing be that much better. And that's it. Now you switch side. It's good to work both sides and stretch. And you could stretch this with the back leg that you just had the knee into from the opposite leg, and stretch forward. You can bend the knee here and get into your soleus as you bend the knee and go into a deeper angle here at your ankle, and then you straighten. Once you straighten the knee, then you're into your gastrocnemius, the higher portion of the calf muscle. As soon as you bend again, you're into the soleus, the lower portion of the calf. And when you're straight again, I'm just repeating it so you can remember it more easily. Repetition helps me. And then when it's something foreign specifically. So here you're doing the gastrocnemius stretch. Here you're doing the soleus stretch. And then go down as much as you can. Keeping the knee bent, try and get that heel to push down into the floor. But make sure you keep the knee bent if you want to get the soleus muscle. Gastrocnemius. And tilt here at the hip to get further in that stretch. Don't arch in your back. And work on your hips being square too. That's always important, since we tend to, so you would repeat all of these movements I did with the opposite side. So when you want to work your right calf, you put your left knee behind and you do that same movement with the wall against, because then you're using resistance this way, so you can go deeper, slower, it's more steady, more accurate, because you're not all wobbly, and again you have that resistance of the wall. Then you switch and you stretch your right calf, knee straight, pushing against the wall, watching your hips nice and square, dropping your shoulders down, and then you do it with your knee bent. And then you alternate, knee straight, knee bend. Make sure your hips are square. That's a good, as well as stretching your hip at the same time, but really the focus is your calf. Just the reason why I want hips to be square is because, generally speaking, when people are walking and standing, and we tend to have our hip externally rotated, which as a result makes our knee rotate out to whatever degree it might be, you know, more or less. And then your foot points out. When your foot points out, then that means that you're really not truly stretching your calf muscle, your gastrocnemius and soleus muscle. Instead, you're compensating with the side muscle that's on your leg here. There's a big one that's called fibularis longus. Then actually it gets more tight. You're using more of that muscle as opposed to really using your calf muscles, which are the main calf muscles, soleus and gastrocnemius muscle. When you're walking, you should be walking with your feet straight as much as possible. Especially with me, having learned ballet, lots of movements are in first position or second with your foot pointing out. But thankfully I did learn contemporary ballet, which means that I have learned as well to put my feet in a parallel position or sixth position, as we call it in ballet or modern jazz. So I've learned, thankfully, to do this movement with my leg, where you go into internal rotation and engaging your hips. Engaging your hips is very important in order to get that proper alignment of your ankles, your knees, and your hips. Then there is a ripple effect on your upper body and vice versa. Here being the center of your body, separating the upper and the lower, obviously. This was a bit of a side note, which is not directly, obviously plantar fasciitis. However, often many issues of the plantar foot can be caused because you walk with or you rest, or you cross your legs and your hips are rotated out, or your ankles or your knees. As a result of all of those different level of the body rotation, external rotation, it causes a ripple effect of a million things. Back issues, hip issues, calf issues, plantar fascial foot issues. So you name it, they all are there. Posture alignment is so critical and important. If you want more information on how to work your hips, especially if you have back pain, even calf pain actually, watch my self-care exercise videos that will talk to you about how to do the lunge exercise. It's, I think, about a 45-minute video. I do a little quick warm-up of the body, and with some fun different ways. Not the typical stuff I used to do when I taught aerobic exercise like decades ago, which is more fun now, it's more functional that way. But yeah, working your hips, finding ways not to use your spine when you should really be using hinging here from your hip at the femur and not from your lumbar to your sacrum or sacrum joints. So on this note, now that I have explained this, and if you wish to get some information on your hips and back and squaring up your hips so that then it's going to allow alignment of your whole lower extremities, watch those videos. The part 1 and part 2, they're both amazing. They are together. Part 1 is the back bend, again teaching you how to separate the different joints to move when is appropriate, and the lunge and cobra, which are very helpful as well. A couple of other ways I really enjoy stretching the calf is doing a little routine on the floor, which is actually something I have been telling my clients to do pretty much daily. So I'm going to put my hair up because otherwise it's going to get stuck. It's a good way to start the day, and it gives a nice, awesome stretch to your calf, to your hamstring, to your foot, and I love it. So there's props you can use. I leave them to the side. And let's see, I'm gonna go in an angle so you can see me this way. We're gonna start, actually it's gonna be my bad side. As far as twisting this way, that's really my worst side, but that's okay. But again, I've worked on this for a long time, so that makes sense that it might look, she says, it's her bad side, really? It takes practice to get good. So here we're gonna stretch this way. So I know you're gonna be, why is she doing this? That's not stretching my calf. No, it's not, but I have to prepare my body, so I'm preparing my back. And I just preparing my back here, just was making sure we were recording here. And pushing my shoulder blades down. There we go, relax. Just to give a nice stretch to the back. And from here, I'm gonna straighten the leg. So here I'm able to do this at this time of the day, and today I guess I had a nice hot bath, 30 Epsom salt bath. My back is fairly relaxed and loose, same with my joints. Some days I don't feel that way and I'm not that way. So don't think that I'm like this all the time, I'm not. So this is sometimes all I can do, and yes, it is more than many people, or some people might be able to do, my husband being one, but sometimes it's very painful and tight even just to do that. So, and I might just be here trying not to reach my foot, but I can't. So here I want to do some simple exercises where you're gonna lift up and stretch. So if you can't do it like this and touch your foot, you grab a band of some sort, whether it's this is a TheraBand elastic with holes like this, handles, and that allows me to stretch this way. This is really nice. So you're gonna try and keep your foot straight so you're not pointing out, even though it's fine to do that pointing out as a result, because I was saying most people tend to have their foot pointing out, they only stretch this way. So you still need to do it. However, you do need to stretch with your foot pointing straight forward. In this case, you're going to be stretching your bicep femoris muscle. That's the most lateral hamstring you have. You have 3 hamstrings. So this muscle then doesn't get stretched enough if we don't put the hip into a more straight position and engage the hip muscle in the front here. So this is how you would stretch this. If you get a stretch in the calf, then if you don't feel it already here with having the strap and pulling toward you, relax your shoulders down, then you can add your foot, and then you're definitely gonna feel it in the back here. So at this point I don't need the strap anymore, but you may do it with a strap only if you cannot reach your foot. Now you could do it this way in order to be able to grab the foot, and that's completely fine. Just realize that by having the knee bent, now you're not stretching your gastrocnemius muscle here. You're stretching purely your soleus muscle only. Try and keep the foot square. So focus on that hip here, hinging to be rotated neutrally, and you stretch your soleus muscle. It might not be where you can feel it. You might have to do the exercise standing with a knee in the back of it to really feel the soleus, but then you can straighten the knee, and now you're gonna feel it in your hamstring and in the upper calf, the gastrocnemius muscle. In order to stretch your hamstring, which is important in recovery and healing from a plantar fasciitis issue, you have to have your knee straight in order to get that any of your hamstring stretched. If your knee is bent, all you're going to be stretching is your glute muscles and a few other hip muscles, but you're definitely not going to be, and back muscle, but you're definitely not going to be stretching your hamstring, since it's not being challenged at both ends, distally and proximally. and you will not be stretching your gastrocnemius if your knee is not straight. So having done this on this side, now you can go back and forth. Even my last what is that one called? The cardio flossing. The last cardio flossing has exercised me doing this movement while rock back and forth, and that's going to really give you a good workout into your calf and gastrocnemius muscle. So then you switch side and you repeat the same thing to the other side. I'm not gonna do that now, even though I should do it because it's my worst side, but you get the point of what I'm trying to get across as far as this. As well, I would like to show you, so this is a wedge pillow. This is a great pillow. If you're looking for links to get pillows like this, we have patients who have chosen to purchase them themselves, so we gave them a link because it helps them sleep on their back, which in many situations it's better for you to do that, but somehow you keep flipping over on your side. So one way to prevent from flipping on your side is to have one of these pillows. So here for now, I'm just gonna put my feet up here, and I was doing a little routine the other day on the table after getting a treatment myself, and I was doing stretches like this. Actually, I was really tight. So I'm gonna start with this side now because this side needs to be stretched as well. So I'll show you the variation with his. So here, if you're having some back issue, having this knee bent like this elevated, where you have the foot on top of some kind of a raised pillow you would have of your own, it's going to help protect and support your back because you're stretching and creating a tilt of your pelvis while you're using the opposite leg. So I like to go this way, really any direction. The key is just to keep switching it up. And then you could stretch this, grab your strap. This is a TheraBand, a fabric stretchy strap. I've not seen them from the website. I get them in a little while, but I'm sure if you checked with TheraBand, it's you could find it. So here, so whatever stretch I did earlier with my left on my left side, here I'm doing it with a little bit of a version, a change here that might help with people who have a little bit of a issue with their back because it will stretch your back. Again, it could be too much for some people, it might not, but it might be necessary for some others. So if it doesn't work one way for you, try it the other way. That might be just what you're needing. And then here you're stretching the foot, so you could point and flex. So you do it this way with a bolster here, but you could do it like I was doing the other side, the left side. You could still do this pointing and flexing as you have your leg up. With your knee straight again, it's stretching your gastrocnemius muscle here. And if you have your knee bent, then it's stretching your soleus muscle below here. If you want to pull more here onto the plantar foot, get the strap more on the forefoot, and pull and flex. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. And do that with your knee bent and your knee straight. And then you can go further in the stretch, getting your hamstring as well. Try again to have that hip engaged here, still keeping everything on the floor in your low back and hip, and pull towards you. If you can touch with your foot, go ahead. And it's a bit more of a challenge here in my hip. So, but still we're managing to get there. Relax your hip as I was contracting like this. Just relax and drop your hip down. And that feel a nice stretch, deep stretch through here. You'll feel it mostly on the outside. And again, that's because, again, most often people will walk with their toes pointing out, which means it will tighten this a lot more than it should. And so that's why you feel it the most. And then bend the knee. Now when you bend the knee, you notice something. Here, your foot wants to point out. because your hip has restriction. So try and counterbalance that by holding with your hands the foot, and make sure you're watching how your knee is tracking and your foot. Try and keep everything aligned, pointing in the same direction. And then as a result, it's gonna make you use your calf in the back a lot more. Whereas if you go here, then you're using your hip rotation and not the ankle flexion and extension in order to bend and walk or exercise. So really pay attention with that, or to that. If an exercise is meant for you to stretch the back, you have to have your hip joint, your knee joint, your ankle joint, and even your toe pointing all forward in the same direction. Use a toe as a marker to know if you are in the right alignment or not. From here, I like to do an exercise as well. This is like a twist. Where you go to the side. What is awesome about this exercise is that it will stretch your hamstring and your calf more specifically, since that's what we are working on with the plantar fasciitis. However, the hamstring can be very much involved with or even hip issue. Hip tightness can be directly involved as well with the plantar fasciitis, or indirectly, if it's not directly the plantar foot or ankle itself, that's the issue. So here you go this way. If you can't touch here, and if that's too advanced, again, use props. So here, you can have a prop here to rest your foot. You can have this leg straight here if you want to be this way instead. There's so many ways. So here you're this way. You can be your knee bent if you're too tight in your hamstring and there's no way you're going to be able to stretch your leg. And then slowly then you straighten the leg. If this is not enough of a pillow and you need your leg up here, then get an extra pillow to raise your leg higher up here. Or use that other bolster here. But you want something wide enough. And then eventually one day you use the strap. Well, the strap, you can use it right away once you've loosened up a bit everything. And you use a strap to stretch. Now you're gonna focus over here, obviously. Once it's loosened up a bit, whether you're here or wherever difficulty level you're at, then you add the upper body where you open up through here. It's gonna stretch in through here. If you have some sciatic issue or tightness in your hamstring, you're really gonna feel it. If you also have some tightness through your torso and your psoas and your diaphragm and your shoulder and your neck, all of that is gonna be helped with this simple movement. And yes, my shoulders are touching both the floor, the mat, but it doesn't mean that I did once upon a time. I didn't. I literally was like here. Now I can touch, and you had your neck, you stretch your neck, or in the opposite way. So really that can be your head to toe exercise. Keeping your neck to the opposite side, you're stretching your top leg. And then here now I can touch my foot. Again, I use props or not. I use a band here or not. I use a pillow here or not. I always use a pillow for my head. And then here you stretch it. You can try and be more straight square here. That's gonna stretch even more into through here. If you pull this bottom leg and try and keep your hips square. That's a really good stretch. Then you can, it's like working on those exercises standing, and that just feels amazing. You can do flexion, extension, working the fascia, and actually the nerve, doing some nerve flossing. That's the word I was looking for. And then you would repeat this to the other side. So here again, I'm working my left side, but you need to make sure you do both sides. that's very needed. You could do that exercise against the wall as well. The reason why I'm mentioning the wall is because when you use the wall and your foot touches here, you can use the floor to get your hips nice and square. And if already it's difficult to do that and you're having a hard time to keep your legs there straight or even bent, you have the wall to give you some support, and you work on stretching this. So again, you can do with your knee bent, and then you can do with your knee straight, and however degree you need. But how much beneficial it is to go through these exercises when you are super tight, then things are so much easier and flowing. Other options then that I use when I am tight, or if I have any plantar fascia issue. I don't really have any plantar fascia issue. I usually get really tight posterior tibialis muscle and a bit of a, some tightness in through here or into my hip, but I never let it go to be into my plantar foot, because it's usually often derived from all of the other things higher up causing a foot issue. And I'm on my feet literally all the time. So there are tools as well you can use. So I'm gonna pull my tools out. This is actually a planter basket to put plants in it. I find it so handy. I'm using it for everything. It's like a little purse. They're so cute, and I can have them throughout the house, throwing all of those balls and tools, and I take it everywhere. So there you go. I have balls in socks, some that have been retired. The other one of this sock has a big hole, and as much as I love these cute socks, I'm not gonna sew them all back because it doesn't feel right. This is an amazing tool. My husband was using it recently for plantar fascia issues. It's called TP foot roller. Sorry, I'm trying to read without glasses on. So it's tptherapy.com. So I have not checked the website, but tptherapy.com. There you go. Doing some advertisement for you, tptherapy.com. If you're still in business, I did get this a while ago. It came with a block and a strap, I believe. This is really good for the foot. You do it standing, obviously, or you could do it this way, I suppose. But why put stress on your knee when you can just do it standing? And so here, that motion when you are trying to let your heel drop onto a stair. That's kind of, this is a bit safer, I will say. You can go deeper with the steps, the stairs. However, you don't want to take it too far either, and then have an injury happen. If you slip or trip or fall from that stair, you don't want to rip tissue. And also, so if you want to stretch your calf in the lower portion, like the soleus muscle, hold on to a wall. I'm not going to move back where my wall is over here, but hold on to a wall, and then you're going to slowly bend the foot and the knee. That's going to further bend your ankle, and it's going to get more into your soleus. So now this stretch, if I try and bend the knee, I could go further into it if I was holding on to something. Here I'm using purely my balance, which is more challenging, and I'm talking to you at the same time. So, but I definitely can feel more of a stretch doing this than when I was on my back stretching that way with my knee bent. Here I can definitely feel more stretch in my soleus muscle. So it's good to go back and forth. So I could feel a bit of stiffness on the top of my foot, on the dorsal part of my foot, as a result of doing this, because you're really working the tissues here and the joints too, you're challenging. So as a result, you're calling friction back and forth, but again, with slow, easy, controlled movement. Then all I had to do was go this way, and then I really loosened up the top. So stretching this way, slow controlled movement, holding onto something, whether it's a wall or my bars that I use, or Liebert bars, something like that. And then you go back and forth and stretch this way, or hold on to the counter. You can stretch the toes, stretch the foot, and go back and forth, and then stretch here. Doing with the knee straight, doing with the knee bent. Again, I've explained already in the earlier part of this video why it is important to have the knee bent at times and the knee straight at times. Don't overextend or hyperextend, especially if you have any knee issues. So there we go for that. A few other tools. This is from TheraBand as well, like the strap that's back here. This is TheraBand foot roller. So that would be at, I think it's performancehealth.com. It has those. But I did get it through another website where I get supplies locally here in Southern Ontario. So this works. It's a bit softer, so but that can work quite nicely. Actually, I got this for this, but I want to experiment using this as well on my IT band. It's cheaper than getting the bigger one. This is like only like $9 or $10 Canadian dollars, and I still have to experiment with this on the floor. It doesn't beat though. It's not better than using a ball if you want to be really efficient when you're working your body, especially IT band, hips, glutes, and all of that. This is a baseball, so I love that stock, and that works really great. You could use a ball like this. So I suggest for the bottom of the foot to use a golf ball for this. You could put it in a sock and then put pressure on it like this. Because the ball will be lower, then you would be able to have the toes and touching, or the heels on the foot, to really get into those metatarsals, tarsals, and all of that fascia and tendons and ligaments that are specifically the tendons there in the fascia that are in your forefoot and in the bottom of your foot. Another wheel that is great is, that's what it's called, footwheel.com. Footwheel.com. Now this is a really advanced one, as in you get your workout with this one. Alrighty, so I think I've gone through quite a bit of things. You could use a lacrosse ball as well in a rubbery surface like this baseball I had. I don't have it here. So those are a few options, and the one I can't show you because I don't have it here is a golf ball, but everybody knows what the golf ball is. That's great for the foot. It's good for the neck as well, but here we're focusing on the foot. So you would do the same thing as you do with, for example, this lacrosse ball. Hold on to something in front of you, to the side, and put the pressure into the spot, into the forefoot here, more into the middle, getting closer to the heel, and then onto the heel, slowly and gentle. Now make sure that you don't have any bone spur on your heel. If you have bone spur, or if you think you could have bone spur, get that checked with your doctor first, because why would you want to put pressure on a bone spur? First you have to address a bone spur. You can work around the bone spur, but you don't want to put pressure directly on your bone spur. All it's going to do is create more friction and more irritation to the tissues, and then causing more inflammation. Alright, I hope you enjoyed these exercises and guidance with how to use the ball. There are so many other options to stretch your calves, your whole body, and get your plantar foot in proper alignment with the rest of your body through your ankle. Watch my video with the cardio flossing effect on your whole body when you do those cardio flossing movement with your whole body in flexion, extension, and stretching and twisting at different speeds, slower and faster, where eventually that fascia is gonna free, and working with proper alignment, then you're gonna feel so much better. So one last movement I'm gonna show you. You could do it with you against the wall. I'm gonna be a bit off here, but This way so you can be leaning against the wall if, for example, you have a loss of balance or a bit of vertigo issue. Do it against the wall, otherwise you just do it straight. But let's say you want to do it against the wall, so you go like this, and you're going to do this. Your head nice and relaxed forward, and you're going to point. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if you can't touch there, you can go the opposite way. Go however far you can. Use a countertop or here, and then you do the same thing. This way, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if you're someone who has leg flexibility, whether you're here or wherever, let's say you're here, and that's all you can do. You still can do the exercise. You just do this. That's all you can do. That's all you do. You can have your back straight and rotate here at the hip. Then go ahead and do that and stretch this way. I'm stretching my arms, by the way, while I do this. And don't drive your head down forward. Keep it nice and relaxed in between, so ears between your shoulders. And I need to put stress on your neck. And then you can go slow. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then you'll feel so much better. So stay tuned for more videos with cardio flossing, and as well specific exercise moves for different parts of the body that are becoming a problem, either through just tightness or as well through pain that it could turn into if you don't attend to it. Have a lovely day, and I'll talk to you soon. Namaste.